special guest in the house tonight. Joining us for the first time, making her Animal House radio debut, is the very lovely and extremely talented Kathleen Wilhoite.
Yeah.
Yay! Better late than never. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's okay. Kathleen, I just want to tell you right off the bat, thank you so much for taking some time out. You're an iconic figure. I grew up watching you all through the 80s, and I enjoy everything you've done. You're such a character in all your movies. I'll tell you, I actually go back with you to the very beginning, and one of my favorite movies from the 80s was Private School.
You were probably 14 then.
I'm not that young, but yeah, I was up there, and I just, I was always a big fan of Matthew Modine and Phoebe Cates, and I never understood why she left so early in the business.
Oh, she had kids and married Kevin Kline,
and said the hell with it. But she was like the it girl back then.
She sure was, and she's really smart. She's actually like extremely smart. I think that she's smarter than she is passionate about acting. How's that?
Yeah.
It's like she doesn't need it. She got fame pretty early in her career. She's beautiful. And then when she fell in love and had kids, I just think she was like, I don't need the dough. Her dad came from money. That's my, I could be dead wrong. But I know that it wasn't, when I saw her in the 80s, Carrie Leiser's my best friend, and she and I visited her and Kevin. We went for pizza on the Upper West Side. I can't remember the pizza joint, but I remember her saying that she was happier than she'd ever been. She doesn't look back or miss acting at all. She likes it. Kevin can do it. I don't have an interest in it. If you're not passionate about it, you're not going to jump in there and deal with the rejection and then the stupid parts and the embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
I understand maybe why she did that, but she was, and that's not the first time I've seen that. Dirk Benedict quit his career right after the A-Team to raise his son, and I think that's so admirable. But they were such talented people. It's sort of like a shame that we didn't get to see more of them. But they did what they did, and I respect that. But so you're out in California. How the hell are you handling this COVID, Kathleen?
Well, I went back and got my master's degree about 5 years ago and started teaching acting. So I'm teaching at the university, Cal State Long Beach, on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then I have my own acting class that I teach on Fridays. But also, how am I handling it? I actually, about 10, 15 years ago, started writing. And I feel like it's one of the greatest gigs ever. I love acting, but acting's about not working when you're at my level,
Right.
That's the hard part. I always tell my students, like, the hard part of acting is not getting the gig. It's not being employed. Like, get acting when you actually have a job is easy and fun, and everybody caters to your every whim, and it's pretty great. It's a pretty great gig. But but when you're not working, that's when you've got to really, I think, figure out how you can continue to be creative without waiting for the phone to ring. And writing, nobody can take that from you. And when you're writing, you get to be the director, you get to be the DP, you get to be the star, the costumer, the art director. You get to do it all, and it's all in your head. And for me, I could be on quarantine or in the middle at my office at the university, writing, because I'm in my head, and that is a great and fun and not boring place to reside.
So you're always in creativity mode, in other words.
9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then I take the weekends off. But one of the biggest changes about the lockdown for me is I've enjoyed the luxury, and I admit, of having a housekeeper once a week for years.
Okay.
And then once this happened, I love my housekeeper. Her name's Bill. I've loved her for so long. She practically helped me raise my kids. She's amazing and a beautiful human being. But there's no way I would have her get on the bus and get to my house and clean my house and jeopardize her own health like that. There's no way. So I continue to pay her, as I think everybody should, but I, on the weekends, have to put on my noise canceling headphones. I put on 70s funk. That's my favorite kind of music. And I clean my house.
Oh, wow.
I do that every weekend. Saturday, I usually make sure I do a thorough cleaning of the kitchen, and then every week I pick like a bathroom, and then my kids and my husband, they have their designated areas they have to clean, and they have to do it, otherwise I'm too pissed off.
Oh, that sounds like a well-oiled machine over there.
It's a very well-oiled machine. I always tell my husband, if I'm the clean one, we
Right.
have a huge problem.
What mommy says goes. That's it.
Happy wife, happy life. I'm glad you understand.
Kathleen, settle an argument for me. I've been doing stand-up comedy since 1987, and I always see these debates on Facebook. I think it's so great that you're teaching acting, and I think you got a lot to offer all these young and up-and-coming actors and actresses, because I think sometimes they get the wrong idea of why they're doing what they're doing. I think that they all think it's going to be like they're going to shoot to stardom, and I think they need to be grounded a little more. But, as a comic, I don't think you could teach someone to be funny. I don't think you could teach comedy. Can acting be taught? I mean, literally? I mean, are you just teaching them techniques and whatever? You know what I'm saying? Just settle that argument for me.
That's a great question. And you're going to get, with every time you ask that question, you're going to get a different answer. The truth is, some people can sing on key, right? They can hit the note, la, and then they hear la, and they hit the note. And some people cannot hear the note. Comedy, same thing. Some people have an innate ability to be funny.
Right.
And some people, no matter if you give them the funniest joke in the whole wide world, they cannot tell it in a way that has that little couple of drops of magic sparkle dust that make that joke work and make that joke funny. So the answer to your question is, can you teach acting? And what I believe to be true is you can teach techniques that can enable each individual to be as good as they can possibly be. As good, or let's take them as though they are comics, as funny as they can possibly be. Yeah. What is your thumbprint? What makes you 100% unique? You can, and that's what I like to try to focus in on, because acting, the net is a little wider than comedy, because I do think that if you're not funny, you need to get out as quickly as possible. Or you could be a manager, like how many wannabe comics turn into managers, or writers, or, people who can understand what's funny, but can't necessarily perform it in a way that's believable and or works, that has
right.
that sparkle dust chemistry. So with teaching acting, to me, what you teach is permission for each individual to find out where their strength lies.
Right.
Right. And so what I tell my students is there's a place for all of us. Now, whether or not you're going to end up George Clooney, right, or Kathleen Wilhoite, who's like, I fancy myself a blue collar actress. I show up. I still have to freaking audition, self-tapes. I still have to do all of that shit. But I've made a nice living. I own my own home. I've gotten house loans, car loans, married, 3 kids. I have a beautiful life. I get to spend time with my kids. I've never that I was unhappy about had a paparazzi invade my privacy. I usually pose for them. Hello. And they're like, no, I thought you were the plumber. Sorry. Move on, lady.
That's
Move on.
So funny. Yeah.
But so anyway, that's what I like to focus in on, because as actors, the net, like I said, is larger. Because if you can't do comedy, then you can bring your truth to the imaginary circumstances, whatever that may be. I don't think acting's fucking I don't know. Oops, swearing. Wow. I don't think it's rocket science.
Yeah.
It's not, like I said, the hardest part about acting is not acting. It's
Yeah.
not the actual acting. That's pretty fun. Every kid, it says, oh, is this somebody writing
Yeah,
in?
these are comments I'm going to post randomly.
Oh, nice. Acting technique has a vast learning curve between stage and media. True. So, let's see. So that's what I try to focus in on, because when you look at each person's individuality, then there's a place for everybody.
Right.
It really is. And my fear, of course, is like, oh my God, I always tell my husband, because I like to write plays. What if I'm like, one of those tone deaf people auditioning for American Idol, and they're like, singing has always been my dream. I've just always wanted to be a singer. And if I can't be a singer, you just are like, ooh, homegirl can't even hear the note, So
Right.
that to me was like the most embarrassing thing on earth. So what if my playwriting, what if I think I love all my plays, and what if they suck,
Right. What you love may not be what other people like. But Kathleen, let me ask you, I did a lot of research on you. I knew a lot because like I said, I've been a big fan since the beginning. Now you have an amazing singing voice. I even have your album, Pitch Like a Girl. I love it. And you're in all through your TV shows that you've been on, we've seen you, perform. Now, what came first, the love of the music or the love of the acting?
Well, I got sunshine for singing because I sang in my church choir, and I got solos. I got a lot of sunshine for that. So, and then the acting thing came along because I would get cast as the leads in the musicals as a kid, and then you have to act between songs. So that became something that I looked at as something you did between songs. And then when I was a senior in high school, I had a new acting teacher come in, Rick Mokler, who directed a play, House of Blue Leaves, and I got to play. I got to do some stuff. It was great, and that was when my passion for acting really kicked in, and I recognized. That's my dog.
Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about swearing. We're uncensored, so you go for it.
Oh,
because we're used to seeing you on camera.
But I love acting, and now I feel like acting is such a beautiful training kind of nucleus to all the so many different other art forms: writing, music, songwriting, songs themselves, constructing songs, all of that. So yeah, and I started writing songs. My father writes country songs on the ukulele, always did since I can remember. So I just started writing songs as a little kid. So I had like the singing group, the Boogie Woogie Bugle Girls, and they would sing, we'd write songs and sing. So songwriting has always been something that I enjoy and have done for years. Now, ever since I started writing plays, though, I kind of just stopped writing songs, and it wasn't like this painful thing. I just stopped. How fun was it working with Jeff Healey? Freaking rocked. Jeff was my friend, and he was amazing, and he was so funny. And he'd always go, "Hello, it's the great Kate." Jeff Healey's a guitar player for in Roadhouse. He plays the guitar on his lap. He was a genius, and he passed away.
Definitely way too soon.
Too soon. He was an awesome soul, beautiful inside and out.
One of the things I like that you said in an interview is that, and it's rightly so, and it's not even a smug comment, you really didn't have to try hard to get acting work because you were in such demand.
I am so lucky, but it was back in the olden days when, if you fit into a box, which I did, which was the box of I don't threaten the lead girl, not pretty enough, character-y, I had a husky voice, freckles, red hair, and braids, I swear, and have a big personality. I fit like right into a thing, and I played those parts, the best friend, the private school for girls, the, Murphy's Law, those kind of parts. And then suddenly that kind of kicked the door open for me to play other things. And I had a great manager for years that would send me out on all different kinds, like really fight to get me in for all different auditions. And I ended up firing him and it was a huge mistake. And I never got the kind of opportunities that.
Oh wow. Well, you've been on so many different ER, Cop Rock, L.A. Law, the list, Quantum Leap. Out of all those TV shows that you did, which one did you have the most fun on, and which one was the most challenging?
That's so great. Well, I did a TV show. I think Matt Craven was in it, directed by this guy Longo. His last name I just remember, Longo. But I played a character who had the sad disease in the world. It's called tardive dyskinesia. And they cast me, I think they cast me without auditioning. So I was on, I don't remember if it was on location, but I had to do a ton of research, and a responsibility to the people that suffer this disease, this man-made disease. It was created by psychiatrists overprescribing antipsychotics, and it is incurable. So it's a disease that doesn't have to exist. And in fact, they cast me to play that part. But the majority of the people who have that disease, this is back when I did my research, I hope it's changed, are Black men, because at the time, therapists would just overprescribe those antipsychotic drugs, and then
Yeah.
this disease, tardive dyskinesia. Anyway, I worked my ass off on trying to perfect all the physicality of that. And so I'd have to say this weird, tiny series that probably lasted a season was something I was most proud of in my career.
Wow.
But the most sunshine I've gotten is probably for ER. That was fun, and I dabbled in drugs and alcohol in my 20s. I know it's hard to believe, so I had a great time playing that part. They wrote it so well, and the whole key to that role was having no boundaries, which is something to this day that is tricky for me. I'm a little bit on the boundaryless side. So
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm rambling. I mean, I'm just
No, I love it. I love that you're the perfect guest. I don't have you wind them up and they go. But I got a surprise for you. I want to just I'm going to show this real quick. This is vintage Kathleen Wilhoite.
Oh God.
Go ahead, camel crotch, shoot me.
Don't tempt me.
Oh! God, you snot-licking donkey fart!
Get up.
I think I hurt my back.
Poor girl. Let me help you.
Oh! You stupid... Oh! Jism breath, scrotum cheeks. Bug-sucking booger. You're gonna regret this. Dinosaur dork. Fart brains. Hey, I want to file a complaint against this scumbag cop here. Police brutality. He assaulted me for absolutely no reason, and then he tried to rape me.
Sounds like you got yourself a real live one.
Suck a doorknob, you homo.
Did you get any ID?
Get your hands off me, faggot!
Get this. Arabella McGee.
Arabella? Cute.
They sit on that slime ball.
Have a nice day, Arabella.
I eat it, toe jam. Monkey vomit!
That was it. That was great. I love it. Vintage Kathleen. I love it.
Oh, please. I just did some interview where they asked me questions, and they told me about the rewrite of the script. When I auditioned, it was like, this is like a very realistic, gritty street, grew up on the street, just with the worst, truck driver, worst mouth. And I was in a method acting school at the time. I was so excited to play like an actual super tough chick who just had like horrible, just trash talker. And then I show up on the set and they had the script. They did a rewrite. And I was not in a position to push back. I was happy to have the part. I was happy to work with Charles Bronson. And so I just had to do like how we do and had to try to make it work. And there you go.
Yeah. Charles Bronson was such an enigma. And it was somebody I've admired as an actor. What was it like being with him? And did he really pull your hair?
Yeah, he's a terrific actor. This is the news on him. Charles Bronson is a great actor. He was good to me. If he liked you, he'd do anything to help you try to do the best you possibly. I had a meeting before I went on my first shooting with the director and producer, and they were like, listen, do not try too hard with Charlie. He doesn't like it. And don't try to get him to like you. Don't try to flirt with him. Just do your job and you'll be fine. If you try too hard, if he senses you're trying too hard, this is going to be brutal and miserable for you. I said, okay, I get it. And then the first scene I had to do with him was just me and him in a car all day long. So I just stayed quiet in the car. And then he's a cat person, he'd like, if you sit on one end of the couch and then with a cat, they got to kind of just like find their way to
sidle up to you. Yeah.
So I forget, I just did not try with him. And by the end of the day, I will say that he was my friend and we just chit chatted. It was just him and me all day long. And like I said, the other thing that I do love in human beings, if you're good, if you're talented, I'm going to give you a lot of leeway. And he's freaking awesome. He is good. He's fun to act with. If you want to run lines, he'll run lines with you. The one thing is that he does not like waiting. And he wants to go home to dinner at 6 p.m. So if there was any kind of lag in lighting or whatever, he'd go, let's shoot. Let's shoot. Anyone who's worked with Charlie knows about let's shoot. And anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed working with him. It was an honor.
That's amazing because you never really hear much about him. He was sort of like a shrouded figure, So it's cool that I got to speak to somebody that worked with him.
Yeah.
One of the other questions I wanted to ask you was, how cool? What was your first reaction to seeing Patrick Swayze's butt in Roadhouse? Were you awestruck by him to begin with doing that movie, or was it
No, I was doing well in my life, and that movie was for me sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That was I got one of them in the tank. I don't want to go back to it ever again. But we had a freaking ball in that movie. There was like hookers and blow and, guns. There was real guns. I was doing my makeup once and this chick, beautiful fake, hands. I'm kidding. She put her makeup beside me and she takes out her compact, and she's like, she puts her lipstick down. She puts her eye makeup down. She puts her gun down. I was like, oh my God. What's that? She's like, she's broken, right? She was just this broken kind of bimbo chick. She's like, well, sometimes you never know if you want to use it. I was like, oh my God, I got to take a mental picture. This is crazy. And, chicks were like lining up to walk into people's trailers that are rocking. It was insane. The beer was flowing. Jeff Healey would play every day at lunch, the Jeff Healey band. I'd sing. And then the producer was like, oh my God, Kathleen, Kathleen, you got to go up and sing a song. You know, that's my impression of Joel Silver, and he had me sing like because I sang with
That's funny.
He's like, you got to sing "Knock on Wood." So it was such a blast. And Patrick was just one of the gang, and he was a big movie star, but he's a kind. He was a kind person to me. And we all hung out, and he was like he wasn't like a movie star, like an ass, like a jerk.
He was just a regular guy, right? Because you had on Roadhouse, you had Patrick Swayze, you had Sam Shepard. No, not is it Sam? No, not Sam. Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott and Ben Gazzara. Three veterans of the game at that point. And the one thing I like about the 80s, I miss it so much. I wish it would come back, but that's not going to happen. But Roadhouse is one of those movies that no matter how many times it's on, you'll always tune in. No, it's just one of those movies that you could always watch, and same thing. There's like a handful of, and most of the movies that I reference that I say that to are all from the 80s because they just don't make them like that anymore. I'm sorry.
Well, I went to a screening of it at the Egyptian for the American Cinematheque, and they had a bunch of us from the cast, some of the people that are still alive, up there answering questions. And we all sat up there. It was so amazing to see because this American Cinematheque is a group of, they're mostly cinema students and like people in the business that love and appreciate different prints of films, real movie buff people. And the place was jam-packed and they were laughing like they were watching a camp movie. And I don't even think I'd ever seen, I can't remember seeing the movie from start to finish because when I did it, again, I went to this like method acting school. I was in some other universe. So then to see it in this campy way and they were laughing and like boo, yelling, like it was actually really remarkable how that movie has stood the test of time and turned into some just like giant joke. In a beautiful way.
It's a cult classic. It's one of those phenomenal movies like Animal House and The Breakfast Club. And, you said before that Roadhouse was your sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So I'm assuming that probably that was you had the most fun on that set.
Probably. I mean, it was ridiculous. They hired me for 2 weeks and kept me on for 3.5 months. I made
not a bad deal, right?
No, I made a fortune. I remember my agent told me that they had thought that a 1 was a 7 in my weekly. I think I was making like they thought I was making 11,000 a week, and then they thought it was a 7, so they gave me 17,000 a week, which for me in 1985 or whatever it was $1 bazillion.
I'll take it. Yeah, that's funny.
Good Lord,
Now,
it was just great.
With a movie like Roadhouse with Joel Silver, was there a lot of the script was phenomenal? Was there a lot of ad-libbing going on, or that's pretty much they stuck to the script?
This is interesting. The script was written by this guy, Rowdy Harrington, who was one of Joel's very loyal to his crew. If you work on a Joel Silver movie and he likes you, he's going to hire you for every movie that he does. He's this is my experience of him, extremely loyal. If you piss him off, you're out. He's fired. No, he's fired. He'd say. So Rowdy Harrington was the lighting, I believe it was a gaffer. And he got his script to Joel, who read it, was like, I'm going to make this movie. And so then he went from gaffer, like below the line, the writer. Did he direct it? He might have been directing it too, writer-director.
Might have been, yeah. Because I definitely know that name, Rowdy Harrington.
Yeah, he's done really well for himself. I've seen him a couple of times just around town. But anyway, so that was sort of an interesting thing among the crew of like Rowdy was one of the gang, and then he rose to be in the cream at the top of the
cream of the we the show our show airs on it's syndicated via American Forces Network, so a lot of our men and women who are stationed overseas in like forward areas They don't get much, there's very little for that as far as media wise. So we get the honor of reaching them weekly. And I just want you to know when we promo that you were going to come on, we got a lot of responses saying how much they adored your movies. And I say this for a lot of our guests, and in your case, has never been so more true. Uh, like I said, they're in forward areas. They don't have much. And when they watch movies like Roadhouse and The Breakfast Club and Caddyshack, for that 1 hour, that hour and a half, they get to forget that, the bottom could drop out from any minute. So on behalf of them, I want to thank you for entertaining us throughout the years, and hopefully you'll continue to do so.
And can I say this then to them? Thank you for your service to our country and for all, for your service. It's an extraordinary thing, and I am deeply grateful and honored. I feel like my silly movies. It's great. That's awesome.
So now you're pretty much doing things behind the scenes. You're not in front of the camera anymore. Is it just did you chose not to, or?
You kind of age out of your demographic. To be honest with you, I'm 56 years old. I'm happy to show up to work if anytime anybody will have me. I'm happy to show up. But they're just not as many parts. I remember my friend, she always told me, you better enjoy yourself. I was in my 40s complaining about something. She's like, you better enjoy yourself because it dries up in your 50s. And that was certainly true for me. I ended up going to college, and I was so worried my agents were going to be upset with me. I never missed an audition. I was a full-time student. When I did work, I was able to cover my classes, and so nobody missed me. So you just move into different things. It doesn't feel like I'm sitting around doing nothing, because I write these plays and I'm writing a novel. I'm in writers groups. And again, I do love the process of writing. I very much enjoy it. Nobody gets to, when in the process, you get to do your thing. And I love that. So, what I have to work on is selling myself as a writer and getting my stuff done and all of that. I'm terrible. I'm the worst salesman for myself. But I can create. I can stack up on a shelf. Yes, I can.
Well, and to be able to write is amazing. Even as a comic, I find it challenging sometimes to come up with new material. But what I'm surprised at is watching you over the years. You have this tremendous comedic timing, and I know a lot of it has to do with the script, but it's all about your talent. I'm surprised that we never saw you in a sitcom.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think that would have been a big deal for you to do, because you would have fit in as one of those quirky characters on a sitcom.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, it's like me. I'm the one-legged man in the butt-kicking contest. I was, when I was in my 20s, I had a record deal with Polygram. I was at a method acting studio. Anyway, I thought sitcoms was the big sellout of the century, and I turned stuff down.
Oh, wow. What did you turn down by any chance?
Well, I had this deal with Canon Films, like a 3-picture deal. I just kept telling my manager too, I don't want to be lying none with the red deal. Like, nobody will take my music seriously. I turned down auditions. Friends, still waiting to hear. I did audition for Friends, and I just made a lot of really stupid, self-destructive decisions in a very critical period in my life. And again, no mistakes in God's world. It brought me where I am today, which is great.
Right.
I'm happily married. I do have a beautiful life, but it's hard not to just get like, oh, what, like youth being wasted on the youth. I made some stupid freaking decisions. So dumb. And I regret it. But it's all right.
Yeah. So so what part did you audition? This is something I didn't even know. You auditioned for Friends. What part?
Phoebe.
Oh, you would have been perfect.
Me, Pam Siegel, and Phoebe.
Oh, wow.
We
That's
were all
amazing.
at the network together, the three of us. Yeah. And then let's see, what else did I tried out for a lot. Breakfast Club for the Ali Sheedy part. Some Kind of Wonderful for the Mary Stuart Masterson part. What else have I tried out? A ton.
Wow.
Yeah, I am the almost so close sexual perversity in Chicago for the Big. I was very close to playing the part in Big of the what's her name? I ended up
I know who you're talking. I can't think of her name right now. Yeah.
Elizabeth Perkins. She got it. But I ended up working with her, and she's a very sweet, good person, but she had no idea that that was like the fish that got away from me. I've had a lot of fish that got away. But, one of those, like, I'm running, I'm like first place. It reminds me of the chick that was a mogul skier, and she's coming down the mountain and she's way ahead of everybody, and she does a cheer for herself right before off the last mogul and eats it. And then the second place winner goes in 1, 2, 3, and she.
Oh, wow. Well, your career is nothing to sneeze at, Kathleen. You have an amazing. If you look on IMDb, you'll see what the body of work she's done, and it's amazing. And I know you're concentrating on writing and teaching, the up and coming actors and actresses. Now, let me ask you, when you get a class of students in, or however it works for you, when you see someone that and you want to encourage them as much as possible. That's always a given, and there's always something they could do. How do you handle it if you see that they just are not up to snuff? Like, what do you do to maybe help them or increase or help them get to where they need to be?
Oh, that's great question. Well, I taught acting for the camera at Cal Arts, and I could not believe the level of talent. It was ridiculous. So, there were a couple of students. What's difficult to teach is what we call in the acting teacher school, the resistant student. The resistant student who you would give direction to and they don't do it, and they're angry at you for making a suggestion to help maybe improve the quality of the work. And for those students, I get them off stage quickly, because there's no reason. Once I detect that dynamic is at play, I'm like, I'm not interested in life's too short. I'd rather work with people that are malleable. That's part of the game. Right. So I give them exactly what they want and just basically say, very good, right on, and next, let's keep them moving, because the other problem is that there's a lot of students and not a lot of time. So the ones you're going to work with are going to be the ones that are
right
direction. You know what I mean? But if you're
I'm surprised to hear that like you're not even out of the gate yet, and you already got a chip on your shoulder. I mean, seriously? No, the students.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? How dare you? You didn't even cut your teeth yet, and you're already acting like this. You're not going to last long.
No, and they don't. I mean, that's the truth of it. Like, you ask, like, they generally, I mean, unless, like, Justine Bateman, I have her come and talk to my class a lot. She was in Facts of Life, great friend of mine, good girl. But she talks about your basket of tricks. What does she call it? I think she calls it a basket of tricks. Like, if you're super handsome, you can probably be a little less maybe gifted at acting, because you're super, like, you've got this thing.
Eye candy, yeah.
Yeah, eye candy. If you're, maybe not as attractive, but you can, really kill a scene. You've got a great sense of the art. You can bring in different characters. Like, then that's your gift, and that's your thing. I mean, so that is usually what you do as a teacher in drama school for me, because I actually feel like the more you do it, the better you get at it. at a certain level. If somebody
Right.
can't even act, then it's like, yeah, you got up there, didn't you? How
Right.
did it
Right.
feel? I ask them, how did it feel? And they're like, I don't know. Usually it's ego and fear that turns a student into a resistant student. They're
Yeah.
they're afraid that they're totally exposed as a no talent, and
Right.
their ego has driven them to this point because there's a part of them that feels like they should be a star. This is toxic combination for actors. They've got to get into a place where they feel playful. I celebrate acting. I think it's like the greatest profession on earth. I have them dancing up to 70s funk before we even start so that they can just get into that playful place. Like, be a freaking goofball. It's a goofball place that I feel like it
Right.
makes you, like, when you work with guys like Nick Nolte, he's a goofy goofball. Susan Sarandon laughs, contagious laughter. Like, these kind of people, there's this playfulness about them where they're very much in touch with their, like, I sound goofy, their inner child. There's a childlike quality to acting, and that's what I try to seize upon. That's what I try to bring out in my students. So if you can't get in touch with that, you're self-conscious, bound up, my class would be utterly frustrating. And
No, but I think that's a wonderful approach because these kids, these men and women, they're coming to you and they're like sponges. They want to absorb everything. But as you just said about the one guy that was like, got offended by what you said, it's not always the case like that. So yeah, I guess you just all right. So we'll put you over here and I'll concentrate on the people that do want to learn something. I guess that's how you have to be, even though, you know. It seems like heavy-handed or unfair, but hey, listen, these other people they want to learn, and part of being an actor, I think, if you can't take direction, then you're in the wrong business. I mean, that's my opinion. What do I know, though? You know what I'm saying? I'm a comedian.
No, but it's true. I mean, you have it's not, especially with film and television, is not an actor's medium. You need to fit right into their universe that's already up and running.
Right.
So unless you're like top 5 on that call sheet, you don't really get to call me. Like, people say, like, why do you do, my mother used to say this to me, Kathy, why do you always play those kinds of parts? Why don't you ever play any nice girls? You wear that black all the time. She'd always tell me. And the truth is, I'm not at a pick and choose place. I didn't.
Right.
Out of all the movies in the whole wide world, I love doing Roadhouse and Murphy's Law or whatever, but I freaking would way rather have been in, Apocalypse Now and The Wire and, all these, I don't regret what I did, but I was happy to get those parts. Private School, happy to get that part. But it's not like I'm picking them. It's not
Right.
like, I get to choose them. I mean, I'm lucky to get those gigs. And when I get it, I try to bring a positivity to it and a good attitude and preparation. That's the other thing I don't have tolerance for as a teacher. I don't like when people come up and try to bullshit me and they don't know their lines and they didn't come in with ideas. And I just get like, all right, cut, and let's move on. I just get them off and work with people who work hard.
Well, that's what you have to do. Now, it's funny you just said that because that leads me to my next question. Did you ever it seems so from what you just said, did you ever get frustrated that they sort of stereotyped you into a certain character and like you could have been, that you weren't taken more seriously? But there was a movie that you just did. I was watching the trailer from it, and for some reason, it was in 2015, when you were, you had an illness or something.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of the name of the movie, but that,
some kind of a homecoming or something.
yes.
Homecoming. Right.
But did you ever get frustrated that they were like, they want you to play the badass foul-mouthed chick or the drug addict or something like that? Which, watching you now, you could see that you nailed each and every one of those roles, but I could see that you had potential to do other things. And I'm just a schlep from Jersey. But did you get frustrated? Or you were just happy to be working?
Happy to be working. I'm not in a position to, and by the way, drug addicts and foul mouthed, white trash chicks, they're the fun parts. It's fun to play those parts. I don't mind it at all. And I never, I've been very, very privileged and lucky to have gotten the chance to play the parts that I've had, but I've had friends like, I have a friend, that have gotten tired of the stereotype, which is kind of an interesting thing. I probably mentioned it because I don't want to say his name, but
no, that's fine. Yeah, I don't want.
He's a black dude, and he's like, I'm not going to play prisoners, people in jail anymore. Done with that.
Right. Well, I don't blame him because sometimes and that's one of the classic pitfalls of Hollywood. But it's all depends on the end. Some people will just be happy to be working, and other people will, say, "Hey, look, I could do other things." But what was I going to say? Can you share a story on maybe one of the movies that you did? That's something that maybe you never talked about before. Just something fun or feel good that you happened. Something funny. Something. Anything. To let's give the troops a story out there. Because I know you got a bunch of them in the chamber.
Okay, here's one. I grew up in Santa Barbara, and my first boyfriend ever is this dude, Tony Edwards. That's how I knew him. And then he and Eric Stoltz is another one of my former paramours. They went down to Los Angeles, and they started acting and had pretty good careers. Tony and I did not have the most amicable of breakups. I was doing a show. I was singing with the orchestra, and he brought another chick to the theater. And I had thought we were still boyfriend and girlfriends. Again, this is my first love. And I had gotten my heart broken. So I very daintily crawled out of the orchestra pit, marched up the aisle to Tony and his new girlfriend, and screamed and yelled at him, "How could you, blah, mother effer, blah, 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 blah." Screamed and yelled, walked back down, crawled over in my dress into the pit, and sang the show, tears, the whole thing, heartbroken, horrible. Fade in, fade out. Years later, 4 or 5 years later, I get this gig on this new show called ER.
Oh boy, what a reunion!
Yeah, and I walk into the makeup trailer, and he says, "Hey, Kathy," and I was like, "Ha ha ha! Well, we meet again."
And another thing.
And
is that awkward or?
No, because he's such a funny, warm, beautiful human being. He had told, George was my buddy, George Clooney, and because I hung out with him for a while, and we were all actors in the same, we lived in the same area. We'd all go to the same actor-y parties or whatever. So I knew George, but Tony had told people, that, oh my God, the last time I saw Kathy Wilhoite, she screamed at me in a crowded theater. But he was super. He's always been pretty darn nice to me. In fact, recently, I had a long conversation with him. Maybe it was like 2 years ago, but it was a beautiful conversation. I grew up with that guy, so whatever. You can't make new old friends. But I think that's kind of a fun story, right? I mean,
oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's who would have thought you would have ran into him on the set of a major TV show?
I know.
Well, that's great. So, Kathleen, let me ask you: if there's a up and coming actor or actress that would like to hone their craft, now, how can they get in touch with you if they want to maybe take your class or see what it's about?
Oh, good. WilhoiteDrama@gmail.com. Just email me there. I charge like $30 a class, Fridays from 2 to 5. That's
Obviously, because of now you're doing it on Zoom because of the restrictions, or pretty soon you're going to be back in the, I guess, at the campus doing it. Hopefully.
I hope so. You know, I'm also teaching out at Cal State Long Beach, but that's the class that anybody can go to, and that's more of my class on Friday has become, because it's Zoom, has become more of a morale building class, a self tape. We work on self tapes and morale. I feel like I've kind of tried a bunch of different things, and I think that's where I can be of maximum service is with Zoom and the confines of the limitations that presents. The morale sort of inspiring is sort of something I try to do, and then we work on the self-tape auditions at self-tape.
All right, so you heard that, guys. If there's any to all our listeners, and especially our servicemen and women, if you have a son or a daughter or a cousin, a nephew, anything, and they're interested in drama and acting, and they want to get taught the right way, please let them contact Kathleen Wilhoite Drama at gmail.com. For $30 a class, you're getting it from a Hollywood icon. And I know she doesn't consider herself an icon, but like I said, I've followed her since the 80s, and I've enjoyed she's a spitfire, and she knows the ins and outs of the business, and she's going to teach you the right way. Unlike some classes that you see that they're just money grabs, she wants to teach people the right way and help them put their best foot forward. And once again, Kathleen, I cannot thank you enough for coming on. You have no idea what this means to me, being a child of the 80s. Consider yourself a friend of the show. If you ever want to just come on and shoot the breeze, if you got something you want to promote, hopefully we get to see you in front of the camera again real soon. But if you can, before you go, would you do me one small favor? Would you do a station ID for me?
Sure.
Basically, you're going to, introduce yourself and say you're listening to Animal House Radio.
Okay. You going to say action, or I do it?
You want me to say action? Okay. Action.
You're listening to Animal House Radio. You're listening to Animal House Radio. You're listening to Animal House Radio.
You have to you got to tell them who you are, though.
Oh, okay. I'm Kathleen Wilhoite, and you're listening to Animal House Radio. I'm Kathleen Wilhoite, and you're listening to Animal House Radio.
That's perfect.
Okay, good.
She's like, how many more of these I got to do? I want residuals. I might, if you kept going, I might have owed you residuals. Kathleen, God bless. Stay safe. Keep
you're doing. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for having me. And I really apologize for the time difference. And I'm going to suggest you make sure you tell your West Coast people 7:00 East Coast time is not the same as the West.
You know what? It happens a couple. We had Brad Garrett on last month, and the same thing happened. And now that when that happens, we call that we got Garretted. We named it after Brad because of the time difference. But please stay safe. Keep creating and keep shaping those young minds. And like I said, if there's anything we could do for you, just reach out.
What a pleasure. And I wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed this. This was great.
Thank you. Kathleen Wilhoite, make sure you check it out. Wilhoitedrama at gmail.com. And we'll see you all next time on the next edition of Animal House Radio. Kathleen, God bless.
You're the best. Thank you, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. All right, everyone can